Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 81 of Orchid Bay, how I've City Skylines built. Hope you're having a wonderful day. And just been enjoying the nighttime view down the coastline here. Loading into the map to record today's episode, and I think Orchid Bay probably has like top 10, maybe top 5 sort of coastlines we've ever done, I think. Really love the wavy keys here, and the redevelopment of course did last episode, which you guys very much enjoyed, so thank you for the support. And today's episode, I want to kind of return to kind of a cuter, smaller service industry build that hasn't been satiated yet in Orchid Bay. And that is the prison. So we've got some plans for this area. We're of course going to do the prison, and we'll talk about that when we get into it. But I'd also like to make this space here, kind of from the nuclear plant over the rails down toward Denise, walkable. Because at the minute it's mainly highway roads, and these roads around here are a little bit out of the way. So I think some path work here to link towns together, and maybe even through the nature reserve, because we do have pathways over here that would actually allow people to walk to Carroll. So it's especially something we get over here. I live pretty rurally UK, and there are little country paths that link all the different towns together. You can walk. It does take a while, but definitely something that we can get involved in, I think, today. But either way, let's get started, shall we, with the prison. So this is a little bit of land that has never been developed on the fringes of Sharon, which I think is quite appropriate, isn't it? So Sharon, of course, who smells like fish, is also going to be hosting our prison today as well. So let's start out here. So I think this is a build I almost want to build from the inside out, just to make sure we give it enough room. So I want to use some dormitory assets. So I'm actually going to grab a little bit of pair to farm over here. I want to drag this over and just give ourselves a bit of a university district so we can play with university assets. And then we'll trim this back as well. Oh, what did I just delete? I deleted a part, didn't I? Let me fix that. So I'm thinking what we will do is, again, like I mentioned, we're going to start building from basically the inside of the complex to the out here, I think. So with campus assets, of course, we can place them on pathways, which is massively helpful. So I reckon we'll have our inner courtyard here, and now let's bring down a pathway here. Let's make sure we're on 90 degrees though. Here we go, and then we'll dive into trade school. So the dormitories here. Now I'm not trying to make a comment on how university is essentially prison. that's not my intention here. But the university dorms in particular do have a kind of prison block vibe about them. Maybe not. Obviously, you have to ignore the car parking spaces as well. But it does have kind of a prison cell vibe, doesn't it? Like a big block in a prison. Maybe not maximum security, but enough to keep the ruffians of Sharon locked up anyway. So I think we'll have that there. Alright? I think that's going to be quite nice. Now, I'd also like to have some recreation in here as well, of course. So if I want to place park assets, I'm obviously going to have to use a dirt road, which I'm fine with. I think I'm okay with it. So let's bring in some frames, and I'd like to make kind of a inner courtyard where activities can go on, basketball, perhaps even a little community garden as well might be nice. So let's come into our tourism and leisure. No, actually we want the parks first, don't we? Let's do a basketball court here. Okay. I'm aware by having roads through the middle here, we're probably going to have cars parked on here, which is a little bit annoying. So we'll try and avoid that if we can, but honestly it might just be quite unavoidable. So then I'd like the second basketball court to sit behind here, which is wonderful. And maybe even worth wrapping up courts with a road there too, I think. I'd also like the then I'd also like the dorms to sit on this side as well. So let's grab that one there, and then we'll give a dirt road or dirt pathway for this to fix on. So the dirt pathways will make a little more sense in a second, I think. Kind of want this to be the interior of the prison. I think I'm happy with that. So then also mentioned I'd like some kind of communal gardens, I guess, for prisoners to rehabilitate on, right? So let's have, yeah, little community garden so they can get outside, you know, learn some life skills, etc. grow a little garden here. I think that might be quite cute, right? And looks like there's actually, yeah, scope for another one over there, isn't there? Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. So we can have that as the interior of the prison. And now comes the actual prisons themselves, of course. So let's grab a dirt road here. Now I don't, of course, want to do. I'm just going to draw that in there for the time being, because I want to place in, of course, the prison, which is the strongest asset here. So I think we're going to actually do 4 of these to kind of encase the compound, if you like. So let's have this here, and then delete this again. And then I just want to replace that with the pathway. Let's have that. We'll worry about some final configurations with the pathway in a second. But what I really do want to achieve here is bring this up another tile to make sure that the prison fence is kind of back to back with the prison gate here. Because when this whole little campus is surrounded by prisons, it should give the effect that, you know, you're actually kind of walking through the prison courtyard here, is what I'm trying to go for with this. Hopefully that makes sense, at least, anyway. Well, we'll see how it turns out, of course. So there's another one over here as well. So now let's start to wrap up this whole complex with prisons. Now we might need to just reshape our roads a few times. So a key point of my orientation is to make sure that the prison towers kind of a tile down and away from each other. So I want to bring this road one further tile down, which is going to put me about there, isn't it? Yeah, so that's what I'm after. So now this dirt pathway can come down and carry on through the interior of the prison. And then hopefully with a little bit of probably all industry fence, I think is the most prison-like, isn't it? Is to just bring that together. Hopefully the fence piece won't be criticizing us here today. And then through that, we can then create the illusion of the interior courtyard of the prison with further cell blocks alongside the ones that are actually part of the prison. Also starting to create a little bit of a gated vibe, right? So that's the thought process behind placing the prisons like this, and also using the dormitories here too. So I think I'll be pretty happy with that, to be honest. So let's go ahead and get this next one in as well. Cool, then we can have that there. And also wouldn't be averse to having, you know, some more sensible connections in. Maybe where it would make sense, right, for people to walk up and down here. Like it's just been a bit of dirt kicked on over the courtyard here. We could also do airport aprons, because I guess there is quite a lot of, I guess, concrete out in these prison yards, isn't there? But yeah, it does concrete up the vegetable garden, which I'm not huge on, to be honest. And again, I guess they are in flower beds, aren't they? So I guess the dirt would be in the flower bed. It doesn't need to be on the ground itself. It does give us a bit more of a sort of concrete vibe. We could also run with concrete for the paths. You just want to explore that possible aesthetic together. I think there's places for both, isn't there, really? I think there's probably places for both. We'll refine it in the detail in time-lapse anyway. We'll let each style sort of brew, and then we'll see how we feel. So we'll get the next fence in as well. And that's alright, I think, isn't it? Don't hate that at all. Now it would be, yeah, I think it might be overkill to get the 4th one in there. Yeah, I think we'll just go with 3, actually. Now I can see it coming together. And so the next bit of the prison I want to kind of work in is kind of like a bit of a work area where, you know, prisoners can go on a kind of a bit of a work day, if you like. So I think what we'll do with that is actually include some sewage treatment as somewhere for them to work, kind of over at the back of the prison. So for the outside of the prison, we're going to use our 2-lane road with wide sidewalks. And then we'll also have this come off toward the river here as well, where we'll include these 2 eco water treatment plants that we've got over here. Add in next one there. Cool. So I almost want to make these like, you know, part of the prison complex, and I think we can do that by using some dirt pathways here. So let's do something into the grid and angle as well. And then let's also come right up and behind these buildings here. I almost think actually in hindsight, maybe let's just budge this over by single tile. Because I think we can use the fences on the pollution asset to our advantage here. I think the fences will help us to think, you know, you can imagine prisoners walking through here, obviously doing their work without being allowed to escape, etc. And I guess we could even, if we've left ourselves enough room here. Here we have. We could actually box off the end of that as well, so it just looks like a little access alleyway for maybe, you know, one of these sewage treatment plants, etc. So let's bring that across as well, and then also want to line these pathways back into the prison complex with that oil fence as well. So you can hopefully see what I'm trying to achieve here, right? The same thing here again as well. And then we can have this access kind of into the prison, obviously, so people can get to the tennis courts and the vegetable gardens, and maybe just to reinforce the fact it's a gate. And we could drop in a fire watch tower as well. So essentially all this is just a mass collection of service assets, but the arrangements and orientations can just make it so much more, I think, can't they? I think that concept there isn't horrific, is it? It's not horrific. Just definitely want to bring more fencing around it and whatnot. Let's work on the front of the prison. Now, I think I'd definitely just like to surround it with car parks. So we can see here the prison isn't going to centralize with a road, and I would actually like it to. So with that in mind, we'll create a grid structure here, and then we'll create a new one from this orientation, I think. Bring that across there, line it up roughly, and then that should put the node directly out the front of the prison, which I'm pretty happy with. And then we can just blend everything back in there now. For some reason, I'm also imagining a very tiny line of oaks out the front of the car parks too. So let's do that. Let's do 12 here. And we'll have... Let's do a little bit further than that. Let's go 21. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why I'm feeling that oak line in so much, but it's staying. And now we can finally make the prison active because we can hook it into the road network here. And then again, let's go ahead and give... If we come out here, we actually can. That doesn't... There's not going to be a vast amount of through traffic here, is there? This is usually a really bad thing to do, two nodes so close together like that, but I can't imagine there's going to be a vast amount of through traffic here, so it should be okay. You definitely wouldn't do that on the main road, for example, if you are building along. But I think here we can get away with it. So let's do 2. And then we'll double up that parking pattern at the front here as well. Now people can park, and then they can walk up into the prison to visit their incarcerated loved ones, etc. Let's come over here. Let's do something similar over here as well. I don't think we're going to get in both layers of car parking here, which is fine. I'm happy to have a little bit of a lopsided car park here. They're not always perfect symmetry, are they? And I reckon we can also connect these in here as well. So that gives us a pretty cool kind of undetailed prison complex, doesn't it? And you can really tell what it is as well, can't you? A lot of police fans all of a sudden leaving the prison. Is something kicking off? Looks like it is. So I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. I also wouldn't mind giving them some more sort of working facility, I guess is the way to describe it here, isn't it? In the form of a recycling center. So let's give a recycling center over here as well. You can always do with more garbage processing in the city. And then we can make that part of the same kind of concept of the pathways, allowing workers access to the work site outside of the prison complex, if you like. If that makes sense, and probably just want to connect that in there, do we? I reckon we do. Well, let's make sure we hit the right angle there. Yep, it's a little bit better, isn't it? I'm happy with that. We'll finish this off in the detail in time-lapse. We can have our own little Sharon prison, which is pretty cool. Now, I also mentioned I'd like to do some path work as well to make Sharon and Karen walkable. Now, I think the AI, they won't use it if it's just regular dirt paths, so I reckon we'll set up cycleways instead. Do kind of a big cycle highway here. So let's start off from... We'll also hook it into a few candies build over here as well. Wouldn't be averse to that. But I think either way, we will come from the crossroads, just coming out of Sharon here, shall we? So I think we're also going to do our favourite thing with the cycle pathways, and that's just have them on a one-step elevation. We'll gradually climb to a 3 height here. Let's come over the train bridge, and then we can descend now down to 1. Which, actually, yeah, the little climbing height there's actually helping us, isn't it? So now let's just run this, see where do we want to kind of approach into Denise. Quite a few dead in Denise, actually, isn't there? In the middle of a death wave, I suppose. Maybe, I guess the roundabout would be a good place for them. And we could possibly change this into 3-lane cycling roundabout as well, to help encourage some more cyclists, perhaps. Cool. So this should hopefully help cyclists now cycle where they could not cycle before, which should help reduce the traffic around the area. Not that the traffic's horrendous anyway, but if we can get more people on foot than in the car, it's always a good thing, isn't it? And then I'd love to get them over here as well, because of course they can't cycle on the highway roads, and I'm certainly not downgrading this into cycle lane either. So to get them over to Carroll, this connection here is best, isn't it? How about we set up a cycling tunnel? It's not often a bit of infrastructure we tend to set up that often, is it? So let's bring this right through here, and then can we just go down into the earth like that? I think we can. I'm not against that at all. And then we'll feed this straight under the mountain. And then we'll just emerge out of the ground about there. And then we'll connect into the cycling path here. All this way here can become cycle path. Not down to a highway rest stop here. I think that's a little bit pointless over that way. So we'll just keep it down to this point. And then they can cycle from here into Denise, where we could... Sorry, not Denise. This is Carol, isn't it? I'm getting my angry middle-aged women confused. So that's okay, I think. That should give us cycling access now. I think I'd also like to give a... Oh yes, look at that, they're already using it. Wonderful. That's fantastic, isn't it? You love to see that. And then, I guess, another connection here would also make sense too. You just want to do this on a straight angle. Yeah, that would make sense as well, I think, wouldn't it? So they can cut off rather than having to make that awkward angle there. So we can now set up a new cycle highway system that runs. We'll have to rearrange the tree lines here, which we'll do in the detail in time-lapse, because they don't really make that much sense now. We'll kind of keep it to our old kind of demarcated land boundaries over here that we've got going on. So one person so far has used it. I really want to see people get over to Carroll from here. That would really, really please me, I think. There's a bloke cycling here. Wonder if they go faster on the cycle path. Okay, there we go. And he's using it. A new cycle highway. That cuts through the mountain for people. Very nice. Cutting through the mountain is also going to help us save on nodes as well, rather than bringing it around the entire thing. But it works. It works. And hopefully we'll see some people leaving Denise on the cycle highway as well. I'll have to wait and see. We could also further encourage the cycling out of Sharon as well, with some little cycling lanes here. And then we'll keep the cycling lane flowing into this particular grid. which will hopefully keep people moving out to the rural areas via... Oh, yeah, there you go, literally as we say it. I was interested in just seeing where it is you're going. Lookout Tower number 1. Which is going camping, so that's really interesting, isn't it? So rather than just drive... I mean, she's only down the road from that as well. Rather than just drive down there to get to the camping, she actually will now prefer to take the cycling route, which is probably adding about 3 times the miles onto her journey. But, you know, she prefers that over everything else, so I can't complain. Got a bit of traffic over here. You boys alright? Is that just the placement of the stop, I wonder? Do we just want to budge over the sightseeing? Stop a little bit. Let's ask you to go over here. That'll help you merge in a little better. Yeah, sometimes their arse end can stick out and it blocks the traffic, exactly like that. You guys shouldn't still be staggering out. I mean, there's a lot of vehicles on this line, isn't there? And most of them are empty. Yeah, let's bring this vehicle count way down. There needs to be like 4 buses on that as well. It's really expensive too, isn't it? Let's go for 20 quid for a tour. No one's using it. So it's obviously a little bit too expensive, isn't it? Which is fine. Yeah, it's fine. Cool. That should hopefully clear up the bunching buses a little bit. But otherwise, let's go ahead and detail up the Sharon prison complex and surrounding areas, and we'll also sort some tree lines as well. And then we'll be right back. So as we start our detailing review, there is crime at the basketball court that is surrounded by prisons and a police helicopter DP. You couldn't write it, could you? Just couldn't write it. Up until the bloody time. Anyway, welcome to the detail review. There we go. So this whole complex has turned into just a real simple repurposing of all of our service assets. You can just place a prison down a country road and just be done with it, but a little bit of combination and some extra expansion. There's so many more things we can do with it, I think. So you got a little statue of Jerry Sr. over here, of course, one of the city's finest policemen. Across multiple cities actually now, isn't it? I guess just a bit of a memorial statue outside the prison, maybe for the old warden, etc. Also dropped in the police helicopter depot just for the aesthetic sign of obviously having police helicopter service is always good. But just for the police signage, I think makes a big difference, doesn't it? Just having that on the drive-by there, the road, just helps add a vibe, doesn't it? I also like the larger, chunkier infrastructure out here as well. Then we'll come in where we have our car parts, of course, that we placed in the episode. And now we've got lots of dirt path lining, trees and whatnot. I decided to fully concrete up the interior and just remain on the dirt roads. We are getting some cars parking here, and what we have actually put in place over this way. And we'll let you guys name the prison as well, why this is a more quirky, unique build. So please do get those name suggestions down below for Orchid Bay's prison. But we have added a district that has the old town and combustion engine ban, just to try and reduce the number of cars that are actually over here. And it has worked a little bit. There are still a few knocking about, but I'm hoping just as the AI leaves this place that they won't really come back in that much. So it seems to have worked at least a little bit. We do have a little communal gardens, lots of just sort of open outdoor recreational space in the grounds of the prison here. And I'm really happy with the integration of the dorms as well. Around the work site area, I've kind of tried to do something a bit fun with the gates or with the fences to try and create a bit of a gate. You can imagine sort of this side here kind of swinging shut when it's obviously not being in use, but for right now, prisoners are able to walk across their work areas, either to go to the recycling centre or to head over toward the sewage treatment plants where they can do a little bit of day admin, maybe get, you know, some good sort of rep with the warden, etc. And then our watchtowers have just been integrated into the entrance. Was thinking about maybe doing security booths here, but they're just too chunky for the vibe I'm trying to create. Definitely a bit of anarchy and prop work would go nicely for here, but in vanilla, you've got to make do with what you can get, really. So, happy with that. Same thing on the other side as well. I love that you can see the train moving there as well. That's a really cool view there, isn't it? A great escape route as well, if you can swim across the river and jump on one of the trains and you're away, really. And then we've also keyed up the back end of the prison here as well, so it looks like a bit more of an established facility with those fire watchtowers around as well. And then a little bit of road maintenance depot and some more car parking out the entrances of one of the other prison sort of complexes here. And just a bit of a concrete yard at the back, where you imagine any sort of road maintenance vehicles would also be kept here. But you could also kind of feature this as kind of prison admin, I guess. It's a nice sort of industrial looking building, isn't it? Tends to fit in quite nicely. And then this whole little area just sits in quite cute, I think, actually, for lack of a better word to describe a prison. You can really tell what it is. So you kind of sat on the outskirts of Sharon, all the watchtowers and the larger kind of chunkier police infrastructure. Really kind of just hammer home exactly what it is over there, isn't it? Then our cycle highway is starting to get a decent bit of use now. There's people cycling, if you excuse the occasional bush in the path. But back into all the way to Denise and even to Carol as well. And it's pretty consistent throughout the day. So really happy with this. Tree lined the whole thing. Sorted out some more extreme bumps where they were in the cycle path because it's kind of a big hill here. So straighten it out a little bit. And then we've got our connection over here now where all the path has just been tree lined as it runs through the countryside. So we've got the forward-thinking government of Orchid Bay to thank for a big country cycle network rather than establishing another road network. We can integrate the two towns with cycling, and people are getting back and to across both ends of it quite nice, which is always good. So happy to see some more cycling infrastructure, and indeed, finally we've got the prison done as well. I know a lot of us have been waiting for this prison for quite a long time, and I think it fits really nicely on the outskirts of Sharon. But otherwise, it is going to do it for today, guys. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed it, likes, comments, and shares below really do help the channel. And if you want to get involved in supporting the channel, check out the links down below to Instant Gaming and Patreon, where there's access to previews, early access, also access to our Patreon podcast as well, which is 10 episodes of now. So it's all down below if you are interested in supporting the channel a little bit further. Otherwise, let me know what you think of this one. I think it's pretty cool. Like I said a couple of times today, just reimagining of traditional service assets that we would place down. You can definitely come to make a pretty convincing kind of prison complex in vanilla now. And another one of those big service industries kind of ticked off, isn't it? We've done the power plant, now we've got the prison. I think only really the last one remaining is the sewage treatment plant. We haven't really done a dedicated water treatment centre yet for Orchid Bay. So that'll probably be the next kind of service industry to tick off, I think. But pretty happy with the prison and a great location for it on the edge of Sharon as well. Nice integration. Massive shout out to all the patrons supporting the channel. As always, you guys are beautiful human beings with fantastic character. But otherwise, I'll shut up and leave it there. I'd like to thank you all so much indeed for watching. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.